Yeah, we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Chris. I am the host of the show. This is the Weekly Spinner Rack, where I'm going to review the comics that I read this week. We're going to talk about the comic book news of the week, and I'll be doing all that while I draw something. Today I'm going to be drawing Invincible versus Omni-Man. But let's take a look at who's showing up in the live chat. We've got Aldi, I believe from Germany. It must be super early there, but welcome. Hello again to Master Shake 9000. We've got L.S. Grieger from Carrington, North Dakota. Hello from America. We've got Jim Mahfood, some sort of pro that likes to have me babble in the background, which is flattering. Killer job on the new Batman video. I'm expecting to see you draw a dynamic zebra Batman riding an alien unicorn type creature tonight. Let's go. I like that. Mr. Vicodin, hello. A-Man, Nova, James Stewart, Sean Williams. Not Sean William Scott, Sean Williams. Moritaka Ishida, my sister Jean. We've got Sir Mr. Howell, Tony Michaels, Super Pickled, Nala15, Michael Edson, and Eggman. I love just welcoming the people that show up in those first few minutes. Hello also, Caveman. If I miss your name, it's just because of a little bit of a delay, and I want to keep the show moving for everybody. Somebody says, Konnichiwa. Well, maybe for the time zone you're in. It's a little late here. Konbanwa for me. Hello from Northern California. Hello from America. Hey, Chris, watching here from Brazil. Thank you for the amazing job you do. Well, thank you, Leonardo. Brazil. I should say obrigado. So thank you. Dr. Doom, hello. Zuropa, baby. Andrew Jefferson. Let's see. Oh, and Master Shake says to Jim that he's so glad that I introduced Girl Scouts. And he's loving the current series. Yeah, Girl Scouts Stone Ghost is what Jim is putting out right now. Hello also to Zoe. Let me get going. There's plenty of comic book news of the week to talk about. There's plenty of personal news that I got to update y'all on. Hello, Black Phoenix. But let's always start with, I'm just going to quickly recap some of the comics that I read this week. Give my overview, my thoughts, my reviews. First up, we got Venom number 5, and this one's actually written by Al Ewing. He and Ram V have been trading off on writing this title. Boy, Venom, I grew up with as, he started as a bad guy, they turned him into an anti-hero, and boy, have they evolved that character, because now he is, sort of a cosmic character that literally Eddie Brock's mind can go through time to wherever the symbiotes are, and there is... he meets a bunch of symbiotes, but they're more than symbiotes. These guys are all people that have been the leaders of the symbiotes. They're all called Kings in Black. And there's one particular jerk. We'll call the bad guy a jerk. This dude, and these are godlike people, but he is setting something up to take down Eddie Brock, but it involves going back and forth through time. I kind of love how complex that is. In this issue, he goes back, takes the form of Eddie Brock, and talks to his son. We are now seeing a scene that we saw in the first issue of Venom from an entirely different point of view. And I like that. But I'll be honest, I'm mostly kind of getting this for the Brian Hitch artwork. I like Brian Hitch's artwork. But you know what? I also see, when I look at Brian Hitch, I see a lot of... his influences. I was always a fan of Alan Davis, and I definitely see some of that in here. We've got some more people here. Hello, Daniel Karhunen from Sweden. We've got Joe Dent from England. We've got Screwblood and X and Decam. All sorts of wonderful people. Barris Bey from Istanbul. Wow, I love that we've got so many people from around the world in one place just talking comics. Anyway, it's decent. It's a little much for me just because I haven't read every Venom story, and it seems to refer to some stuff that happened in Donny Cates' run, at least tangentially. That would probably add more gravitas to the story if I understood that. But I'm not lost, and all I can say is the artwork is cool. It's very highly rendered and stuff, but still a lot of energy to it. And I like that. So, we've got that. Here's a nice surprise. I had picked up an issue of Nightwing a couple months back to show you guys. I picked it up because Bruno Redondo, the artist, had drawn every page going, like left to right, but connecting into like one image and just having Nightwing move across each image, but the background was static and every page connected. So I picked up this new issue because I've been reading the Superman Son of Kal-El, and this is a crossover with it. Very charming story showing Kal-El connecting with Nightwing at a young age and where they are today. Definitely makes Nightwing very, very cool. And Bruno Redondo. I wish I had discovered this guy's artwork earlier because I've never really followed Nightwing. I follow Batman, so of course I'm aware of who Nightwing is. I've read Teen Titans, but I've never read the Nightwing solo book before. I just haven't. And I feel like I'm missing out on this run because this Bruno Redondo artwork is something special. It really is. That's all I can say. It's he's just so good at like emotion, about establishing the scene. Nice clean line work. I mean, I could never draw a ship like that. I mean, maybe with reference. I don't know. Anyway, a pleasant surprise. And his covers are always eye-catching. This guy knows graphic design. And knowing how to make a good cover and knowing how to tell a good comic book story are definitely two very different talents. And not every artist shares those talents back and forth. But a Nightwing book, I will say, tends to stand out on the rack against everything else. He's always got like a clean central image, and he's thinking through his color scheme and his angles and making sure there's no weird tangents. I'm one of the flatters on Nightwing, says Leonardo. Wow. Well, thank you for your work. It's looking gorgeous. Let's see. Since Leonardo is the flatter here, let's give credit to the colorist as well. And because it definitely is great work. Where we've got colorist. Oh, Adriano Lucas is doing the colors here. So some pretty gorgeous work. Thank you for your contributions, Leonardo. That's pretty cool. The Taylor Redondo Suicide Squad run is pretty great too. Okay, wasn't aware that they did that. See, like there are certain things in mainstream comics I have little blank spots on, but I rely on recommendations, and I love picking up a good trade paperback of a complete story. So that's something I will look out for because I'm really starting to like his artwork. Hello, Will Schmeckpeeper. Okay. Yeah, Michael Edson agreeing. I've been floored by Tim and Bruno's Nightwing. Yeah, there was a Batman ad there. Anyway. Wow, March 4th. That's real soon for the next Batman movie. I've got some Batman cards here I might open if things slow down, but there's a lot to cover in this show, so let me keep moving. I think this came out actually last week, or maybe even the week before, and I just was like, yeah, okay, I'm curious. I don't read a whole lot of event stuff, but okay, I like the Fantastic Four. I personally like Dan Slott's run on both She-Hulk and Spider-Man. I think he's got a knack for going in different directions. Funny dialogue. I like his work. I think that there was definitely a difference of opinion on his Spider-Man run, but I liked it. Black Phoenix asks, what's a flatter? A flatter is somebody who puts in the base colors digitally, like blocks out, for instance, like, if we were doing this, they might like color the moon gray, or they might even like color the moon gray and like color the some of the craters a slightly different gray. They might like color this Earth. They might like just sort of give different shades, and it doesn't have to be accurate at all. It's a very time consuming process digitally to just block out where each color is going to be. Like for instance, in this panel, it's a lot of shades of green, but it's still different shades and stuff. So you have to have all that like sort of separate so that you can then go in and do all of the, we'll call it digital painting for the most part. That's a lot of what a colorist will do these days. We used to basically, colors were always flat in comics up through like the 70s and 80s. But these days, obviously, there's a lot of, gradation. There's a lot of, like, effects work, and it can be subtle, hopefully. Bad coloring is going to distract. But, like, back in the day, these would all be just, like, a shade of orange or yellow. But now if you technically look at it, there's different oranges and yellows, and then this is like a bright sort of light glow effect right on the tip of this meteor. So that's something that a colorist would do after they've had their flatter or flatters sort of block everything out for them. It's very important work, and it's sort of just the time-consuming work part of it. Anyway, so what is this? Fantastic Four Reckoning War. Have to admit, I was sort of falling asleep as I read some of this, so like the end part of it I don't quite get. And I don't understand the status quo of the Fantastic Four right now, because that's Franklin Richards and Val Richards, and they seem much older than the last time I saw them. So I guess some sort of time travel shenanigans have happened. Plus, Ben Grimm is talking about like these aliens as though they're his kids. Yeah, this kid says, "Father, look out behind you." It's some sort of, this is like a Kree, the alien blue Kree guys. I missed all that, but it's okay. I can follow along in this. And the big thing that happens is, okay, there are some aliens here that are essentially weapons dealers, okay? These guys are weapons dealers. They are selling these aliens, the Badoon, who've always sort of been like third-string villains in the Marvel Universe. There's like the Kree Skrulls are at the top, and then you might have somebody that you use now and then, like the Shi'ar, but below that is the Badoon, who were like power pack villains, for instance. Like they've been part of Marvel continuity for a long time, but they're not like really big. Anyway, these weapons sellers sell them a huge weapon. For some reason, they're against the Watchers, from Fantastic Four. And here's what they do. The Watcher lives on the moon. They get this new super weapon that blows up the moon. And all these meteors are coming, and the superheroes are saving people from the meteors and fighting the Badoon. What is with all the moon hate this year? Because there was that movie Moonfall, which, by the way, was maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen, that's still like a big budget theatrically released movie. Worst in the sense of how dumb it was. Like, it's honestly hilarious how dumb it is. Like, you go, okay, Independence Day or whatever, kind of a dumb movie, but kind of enjoyable, right? This one just takes the stupidity to another level that you sincerely were like, wait a minute, this feels like a first draft of a screenplay. Like, how did they, even shooting this, say some of these lines seriously and not come up with a slightly better idea? It's really dumb. That's a movie about, like, a moon crashing into Earth. And now we've got this big comic book event of the moon crashing into Earth. And, like, that starts this whole cosmic hoopla. There's a good word. Who knows where it's going? But I don't get what's with all the hate for the moon. Yeah, Moon Knight is coming out. Is Moon Knight going to make us hate the moon? Is his enemy is not going to be like Sun God or something. It's going to be the moon. Jerfy, thank you so much. Just a super chat, no question. Sincerely appreciate that. Thank you. Very, very kind of you. Very kind of you. Yeah, it was made by the director of Godzilla 1998, exactly. Moonfall is a movie that if you watch by yourself, you are going to be miserable. I promise you would be. But if you can watch it with a friend, and you guys don't have a problem talking and, like, making fun of it, you're going to have a great time at that one. That is what that movie is for. Anyway. Let's keep moving. I picked up issue 1 of Iron Fist. Now, I personally have always been a fan of Iron Fist. I don't know exactly why. I like Danny Rand. I think he's pretty cool. There is now a new Iron Fist. Danny Rand, in a previous story, had given up his Iron Fist powers to save the world. But he's still around. And he's still like a kung fu master. So he's still sort of, a superhero. He pals around with Luke Cage. In this issue, there is now a new Iron Fist, but here's what's cool about this guy. He doesn't have the exact same origin. I like that. And there have been other Iron Fists. Ed Brubaker established that. Who was he co-writing with? It wasn't Chip Zdarsky, was it? He was co-writing the Immortal Iron Fist back in the day with somebody else, and I'm spacing out on who that other writer was. But they came up with the idea that there have been other Iron Fists. Totally fine. But they always get their powers the same way. There's this immortal dragon in the magical city of Kunlun. You plunge your fist into it if you're, like, chosen to face him. And if you can touch his heart, it starts his cycle of rebirth, but it also gives you the power of the Iron Fist. You can focus your chi and, punch stronger than anybody. Matt Fraction, thank you. Yes, it was Matt Fraction, not Chip Zdarsky. It was Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker. Had a really fantastic run on the Immortal Iron Fist. Great run. Really, really cool. Anyway, there's this new guy, Lin. He does not have the same origin. Cool, because it's redundant when people always have the same origin. He had this family sword, okay? And he was tasked with keeping, his whole family was, with keeping this god of war at bay. Well, something attacked, where is this origin shown? I just want to give a hint at it, okay? I'm trying to find the page. But what happened was his sword, his mystical sword, totally crumbled, and it stuck itself in his fists. And it causes him quite a bit of pain, actually. So he's got this sort of a little bit of power from that, and what he's doing is trying to collect all the shards. He's trying to collect the shards to recreate this sword, because they've got to keep this ancient evil god at bay. That'll be the threat that it's building up to, okay? But on top of that, when that happened, the dragon Sholau found him. It found him, and it infused him. Here's the stuff that happened. So he was fighting. He had these shards put in his fists, and the dragon sort of it brought him back to life. He was drowning. It brought him back to life. So he has the power of Iron Fist. Doesn't really know how to use it at all very well. He hasn't been raised in Kunlun to know how to harness the power of the Iron Fist. And in this first issue, he bumps into Danny Rand. So I assume the original Iron Fist will probably become a mentor, which is kind of cool. He might even get his powers back or something. But here's what I like about it. Different origin. Cool backstory of, trying to keep this ancient slumbering evil from wakening up. Feels kind of Cthulhu-esque, or Lovecraftian. And this new outfit is great. It's more than just the standard superhero spandex. It's a great new look. I love it. So the shorts collector could become the next comic book character. Exactly. He's collecting shorts. Here's my knock against it. Let me be honest with my opinions. So I like Alyssa Wong's writing in this. Artwork by Michael Eeg. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce his name. It looks good for things like, cities and action and demons and stuff like that. And he draws this main character of Lynn great. I don't like how he draws Danny Rand and a bunch of other people. It just feels unfinished or something to me. I don't love it. So we'll see how long I stay with this. The story interests me. The artwork is serviceable. Maybe a little better than that. I don't want to trash it, but it hasn't excited me. It doesn't excite me. This cover is by Jim Chung. That's a little more engaging than the interior, but whatever. Moving forward, I've got three books. Latest issue of Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. I've mentioned before, I'm a big fan of Rick Remender, so I'll pick up whatever he does. This finally advances this story quite a bit, because we've been very curious about this guy who has taken some people on the run from bounty hunters, more than bounty hunters, like assassins on the dark web. There's finally a good amount of dialogue, exposition, I guess you'd call it, that finally moves things forward, and we start to understand what's going on. It's been a mystery. Steve Sorensen with a super chat. Let me interrupt to just say, you know what is better than one Iron Fist? Two of them. That's been true when it was Danny and Orson. Those were two great Iron Fists. So I'm all for moving Danny into a potential mentor role at this point. It feels very cinematic. It's dark. This time this guy goes up against a bunch of racists, and things get really, really bad. Really, really bad for the woman and the child that he's trying to save. I think that the woman he's trying to save has died in this issue, but we will find out next issue. And he's in trouble. He's trapped under a car with a guy with an automatic rifle. So things are looking quite bad for the protagonist. Very cool crime comic. All right, two more here. I picked up X Lives of Wolverine, or maybe this means 10, right? I guess I don't know. That could mean 10 lives of Wolverine. Maybe they're looking at 10 of his past lives. Premise is somehow his enemy Omega Red is going back through time to kill Charles Xavier, to sort of kill the idea of the X-Men. Wolverine, his mind is being sent back in time because he's lived for so long, and he keeps fighting these people that Omega Red possesses in different lives. We've got one here where Omega Red literally possesses a white whale in the Arctic. It's over the top and cool. There's also Wolverine going up against a wife that he had in Japan back in the day, the mother of his son Daken. And yeah, so you don't have to know this continuity, but it is fun seeing him just Wolverine try to make sense of all this nonsense. He's fighting Sabretooth back when he was a special ops operative. Wolverine is just a teenager in the Arctic here, so he's not very strong. He's up against the wall fighting for his wife's life because he doesn't want his son to die. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, but it's pretty cool. And then it ends with this great premise. Now Omega Red has finally found a way to possess Wolverine. Maybe that was his plan all along, to possess Wolverine once Wolverine is close to Professor X. Yikes, how's he going to stop that? Who knows? It's basically is Wolverine versus Moby Dick. Yes, Andrew Jefferson, basically it is. And that's something cool that you can do in superhero comics. That's just something cool you can do. Odd question, does Legion show up? Not yet anyway. Not yet. Interesting question. How many kids does Wolverine have? Biologically, just Daken. X-23 is a clone that's basically he treats like a kid. And then, of course, he's been a father-like mentor to a bunch of different girls. Because that, ever since Claremont and Burns set up that relationship with Kitty Pryde back in the day, it's just worked. You know, he's had that relationship with Rogue and Jubilee and Armor. It works. Will you be celebrating 2/22/22 on Tuesday tomorrow? No, I have jury duty. So it is going to be very difficult for me to make an episode this week because I have jury duty this week. Leaves me with very little time, but I will create an episode. I don't know what, but I'm obligated to because I have to include a sponsored ad. And this is the last week I can do it. Last book I read, it was Stealth, my favorite book this week, and I picked it up on a whim because I'm a fan of G.I. Joe. Leave it to IDW to produce a G.I. Joe comic that I'm bonkers about right when they're about to lose their license, because they're losing the license at the end of this year. They have created a book that is basically just more adventures set in the cartoon universe. And you'd think that could come off as fan fiction. It easily could. But instead, this writer, Eric Burnham, has nailed the dialogue and characterizations. Absolutely nailed it. This feels like an extra episode, and not just an episode, but one of those like 5-episode miniseries. That is what this feels like. And the artwork here, it looks like animation cells from the show. I mean, they've just got it. I love it. here's the premise. And it's such a cartoon thing. They didn't go this sci-fi in the comic, really. Cobra Commander gets the lamp of Aladdin. He summons a genie. What does he do with his first wish? He makes some battle android troopers into giants, and he sends them after G.I. Joe. Now, G.I. Joe is able to take out the first one, but then Cobra upgrades the others and creates the Mega Bat. So, and they send them all over the world to like Tokyo and England and DC. So that's what the next few issues are going to be, is the G.I. Joe team going around the world, globetrotting, to stop these Megabats and Cobra Commander's magical genie wishes. I loved this, folks. I didn't expect it to be this good, but it feels like the cartoon in the best way that I can say that. Like, if you enjoyed this at all, it's like more of it, but like maybe bigger. And they even close out with a public service announcement. You know, the more you know, knowing is half the battle. And this one is more like updated to today, where a kid is like mad at like other people's opinions, and he's about to talk about it on the computer and like insult them. And Mainframe is like, well, that's not a healthy way to like, you know, have a debate. Like, don't make fun of people, blah, blah, blah. Now I know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. So this is called G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Saturday Morning Adventures. So there you go. I did not expect to like this much. I sincerely had already picked up the stuff that I was going to read, and at the last minute I was like, there was like one copy left at my store. And I was just like, I've always liked G.I. Joe. Sure, on a lark, let me just see what it's like. I can at least review it for the show. And I thought it was a blast. That's all I can say. I thought it was a blast. Hey, we've got a super chat here from New Type JBLE. Hey, hope you're doing well. On the Comixology mess, I'm worried about the non-Big 2 indie publishers like Image, Boom, etc., since they don't have their own apps. Thank you for the super chat. I've got that in my news of the week, so we're about to talk about the news of the week shortly while I sketch, and yeah, I've got thoughts, and I've got news. The only other stuff I got, I'm not going to go into great detail, but I found a great older issue of Avengers 195, artwork by Mr. George Perez. And when I made that episode about his work 2 weeks ago, that was sincerely, I'm a big fan. So a little sad to know that he's sick. I'll leave it like that, but I will go into a little more detail shortly in the news. And I also got a belated Christmas present from my nephew, Demon Slayer. I've heard good things about it. I had the first issue. My nephew got me the next two tankobon. I had been really slow to read this because honestly, the artwork is fine, but I wouldn't call it hyper detailed or super exciting. But now that I have a good stack of them, I was like, okay, I'm going to start reading it. And you know what? I can see why this has become one of the most popular manga and anime of all time. It's a cool story. It's a very likable protagonist. Super, in this story, demons are a lot closer to vampires. They have to feed on people, but they're demons in the sense that they can get supernatural abilities. This young guy is Tanjiro. He's from a poor family. A demon one day comes and wipes out his whole family, turns his younger sister into a demon, but she hasn't fed on a person yet, so she hasn't technically turned into a full demon yet. And his adventure is to become a demon slayer. He trains with this mysterious organization to take them out and try to find a cure for his sister. And Nezuko is also a great character, his sister. They always have her walking around with did they not show it in this first one? They put a stick of bamboo in her mouth so that she's less tempted to bite people. Yeah, there she is. She's always got this stick of bamboo in her mouth. It's a cool design. I almost drew her today. I'll probably draw Nezuko next week because I like this. All I can say is I get it. It's pretty cool, folks. It really is. And the artwork by Volume 3 does start to make improvements. So I do recommend it. we've got another super chat from Magic K. Folks, it always means a lot to me when you donate something like that. It means a lot. Thank you sincerely. And he says, have you read the current Action Comics run? If not, I definitely recommend you pick it up. I have not. Thanks for the recommendation. I do have a nephew. Yep. Well, it's not through my sister, Daniel. I say nephew. I'm not married yet, but it's my fiance's nephew. And so, like, I've known him since he was, like, a tiny wee little thing, and now he's 18. Because Chrissy and I have been together for 15 years. So, yeah, I met my nephew when he was 3. So I've known him, like, most of his life. Yeah, he likes comics and manga a bit. Maybe not as much as me, but he does like it. And so that was really nice of him to get me something like this for Christmas. It got to me belatedly, but that's not really his fault. So, yeah. So I was going to draw Invincible and Omni-Man. I've laid something out to do that. I'm going to have to, like, just plot in some of the costume design here, but that's pretty easy. These guys have pretty straightforward costumes, I would say. And then I'm going to talk about some of the news of the week as we all move forward. Now that I think of it, I have had artwork published in Invincible, but I don't remember the issues. So if somebody out there is a huge Invincible expert, maybe you could remind me, but I've had like 2 pinups published in Invincible. I don't remember the issues. Sorry. I came up with the layout earlier, and I've light boxed it so that it's nice and clean here, and I'm just sketching in a few last details, and then I will start inking and talking about the news of the week, because there's some pretty cool news of the week this time. This looks great. Did you plot this out? Yes, I did, because I'm not very good at drawing everything on the fly. Like, even doing this, I'm having trouble, like, concentrating on both talking and drawing at the same time. So usually I will sketch something out before my live streams, and that way I can just sort of focus on, like, say, inking. Makes my life a little easier and just allows me to do what I want to do. But actually, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this one came out. So I had a sketch and I light boxed it, and we shall see how I do here. I'm gonna give him like a broken, beaten up mask, and we'll take it from there. I have all 3 compendiums. Chances are I'll see you in it. Well, do they include the pinups and stuff in the compendiums? I'm really not sure. If they do, then yeah, I'll be in there. Andrew Jefferson gives a super chat. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you. Have you heard that DC is finally doing the gritty and mature reboot of the Dingbats of Danger Street? Is that serious? Is it? I really don't know. Ever thought of having a family guest star on Comic Tropes? I think it's Chrissy who has just appeared, right? Yeah, Chrissy appeared in one episode I did, I think about Transformers, in a small segment where I had a bunch of friends compete to, like, transform a Transformer really fast, just to see if they could do it. So she has cameoed, but that's it. Well, all my other family is on the East Coast. I'm in Seattle, they're in Boston, so not really a thing. But my sister, Jean, is almost always here in the live stream, just participating, following along. And then later we'll, like, just catch and chat and talk, and we'll get to know what each other are up to, which is cool. See, I'm going to put in a hint of his mustache here, too. So it's very important to give a Viltrumite a mustache. A moustache. Right? That's part of what defines them. I always told Robert that even the women Viltrumites should have a mustache, since all the men had a mustache. Didn't happen, but I thought that was good. Master Shake with a super chat. You guys are generous today. My weekly G.I. Joe question. Have other comics done a silent issue like G.I. Joe number 21? Any current books you'd like to see try something similar? There have been. I don't have a list in front of me, but there definitely have been other comics that have made a silent issue or an issue with no dialogue and stuff. The Dingbats thing is true. Oh my god, that's crazy. That's crazy. Tom King and Jorge Fornes are doing it. Danger Street, bringing back all the first issue special characters. Wow. Wow. Hi, Gene. G.I. Joe also did, I think, another 2 silent issues. At least 2. But as to other comics that have done them, I'm sorry, I don't have that list in front of me. I don't think G.I. Joe number 21 was the first to do it. It just sort of became the most famous. Because it worked so well, I would argue. Yeah. Marvel did a whole month of silent comics called Nuff Said in the early aughts. Very cool. Okay. There you go. It's a challenge as a writer, but it wasn't meant to be a challenge for Larry Hama. Instead, it was meant to speed things up. They were behind on getting out issue 21 in time, so Larry himself, who normally just writes, he stepped in and drew that issue as well. And since he was creating it and like drawing it all the way along, he was able to like figure out like a way to just make it like free of dialogue, and that would save another step. Like no one would have to letter it. So he wrote and drew it because it was so backed up, and it became one of the best issues. Dave Sim did it in Cerebus. Wow. That does not sound like Cerebus, but good for him. Oops. Dave did like to experiment. I just was joking because he could be very verbose in his issues as well. Shaboot has an excellent silent comic called Park Bench. I actually have a copy of Silent Interlude, says Michael. Yeah, I do too. I love it. Ecstatics had a silent issue. Oh, did they? See, I don't even remember that right now, but I love Ecstatics. I must have read it. I just don't remember that. Jim, you think you'd ever do a silent issue of Girl Scouts? Was there a reason for the Marvel Silent Month? No, it's just a gimmick for the 2002 thing. The Frank comics by Jim Woodring are all completely silent. That's fair. Yeah, there's definitely lots of more, that's not exactly a comic strip, but, you know, like funny sort of stuff that you can do silent. So, yeah, just to be clear, there's definitely lots of examples, but have to do a little research. But maybe that would make an interesting episode someday, just like trying to talk about all the different reasons people have done silent comics. I definitely found it interesting that G.I. Joe was done that literally to save time and catch up with their schedule. That's so cool. And it was just cool to see Larry Hama's artwork because you don't see a whole lot of it, but he's quite talented. He did go to art school. Let's talk about some of the... oh, yes, I would love to. Seems like a fun challenge. Maybe 21 pages of the girls hanging out and eating burritos. I mean, maybe. I'm sure that it would look gorgeous, obviously. And in a way, you sort of did it with your pop-up book, right? I don't think that there was dialogue in that. Let me just grab something here. Jim made this really cool pop-up book Look at that. Oh, okay, there is some dialogue in there. Never mind. But look at that. Isn't that gorgeous, folks? Pop-up stuff is so cool. And, you know, one time I saw this Will Eisner pop-up book for The Spirit at Half Price Books, and it wasn't much, and I just was like, well, let me think about it. And why did I think about it? Of course I should have gotten that. And of course it was gone by the time I decided to get it. Now, there is some stuff there, but this is just beautiful to see this stuff like this. I don't know how people figure that stuff out. Look at the size of that! This is some really well done pop-up stuff. That's from Jim Mahfood. Free plug. That's what happens if you show up in this chat room. You get a free plug. You know, whoever... If a pro is in the chat room, I'm happy to plug their book. Yeah, it looks cool, doesn't it? Look at that. Getting some good reactions there, of course. You don't see too many comic-type projects like that, do you? Ferdinand the comic strip is all silent. Okay, okay. Well, now you folks know what you want to look for if you go to a convention and Jim is there. Is hopefully he's got some more of those pop-up books. They're not cheap. But think about the production value of something like that. That is not a typical comic. It obviously costs a lot more to produce something like that than a typical book. So I'm just like giving you that like as a ground level, like it's pricey. Did I go to art school? Nope. In a way, like I probably would have loved to. You know, not that I was ever discouraged in artwork, but I don't think it was ever presented to me as any kind of like realistic career path, and I wish it had been. I think I would have very much enjoyed going to art school, and I think I would have learned some better discipline, because I think I draw very slowly. I don't think, you know, like I have certain fundamentals. So it just would have been lovely if that had been presented to me as a realistic career path. I would have gladly done something like that, but no art school. Closest, I've taken a couple art classes here and there, but more for just myself, you know. And even then, like, not a lot. But I would have loved to. I mean, it's never too late, but it's not going to be my career at this stage. What did I major in college? That's a fair question. Marketing. Well, technically my degree is in, let's see, Bachelor of Science in Management, Business Management, but like with a focus on marketing. But I will say I took that with the thinking that was what led to you becoming like one of the creative people that does advertising. Because I kind of like advertising. And no, marketing is a little bit more, you know, like the management of it. Like, it's good to have that creative background, but like what I was studying was more the management of like accounts and stuff like that, and understanding, you know, testing and, you know, things like that. So no, unfortunately, I didn't go quite the career path I thought that I was going, but that's okay. It just meant that, like, once I started working professionally, what I did is I did a lot of freelance graphic design so that I could get into a job where I got to do graphic design, because I kind of like that a little bit more. But over time, I ended up just by, you know, doing it for a long time, doing more the account management side anyway. Wow, thanks, New Type JBLE. I wish Marvel collected more issues of the old B titles like Web and Spectacular, since good creators like Conway and J.M. DeMatteis did good work on those titles. Yeah, yep, totally agree. Here's one thing. Marvel has been very slow lately to create trade paperbacks and keep things like that in print, because they knew they were moving over to a new distributor, Penguin, right? Random House. Penguin's a division of Random House. So it didn't make sense to build up a certain amount of inventory and then pay astronomical amounts to move that from, say, the Diamond distribution warehouse to the Random House warehouse. It made more sense to lose a few sales while they made that move over to a new distributor, and I suspect they will start to ramp up production on trades as we move forward. That is my suspicion. We shall see if I'm correct, but that's what I'm pretty sure they were doing, because I noted that there were lots of Marvel trades that just weren't in print that you would think would be. I could be wrong, but that's what I strongly suspect. I mean, it had to be a factor in the you know, the people that make the business decisions minds. Nice perspective. Thanks, Alex. Oh, let me pull up the latest news. Where did I put my phone? That has like my Little Bean, where did I put my phone? You don't know? No, it's right here. I got it. Can you guys see my cat here? There he is. He's keeping me company today. He's really become a better and better buddy for me lately. He still loves Chrissy the most, but he likes hanging out with me. Oh, you are too cute. Now that we are down to just the one cat, just by virtue of age, we really dote on this guy. The other day, it was actually the evening, and Chrissy's like, hey, you want to walk down to the mailbox with me? And I was like, yeah. Can I take Little Bean? And she's like, I guess. And so I just like carried him, and he just snuggled up against me while we took him down to the mailbox and back outside. Yeah. All right, let's see. Here's a weird piece of news that I'll go over. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to like erase some of my pencil marks so that this looks a little cleaner. There is a company out there apparently called Rally, and what they do is they monetize things like art in a way that allows people to become fractional owners of it. Essentially, they turn a physical piece of artwork into an initial public offering, like you do for a business that goes public. And here's what they've done. They have a copy of Batman #1 from 1940. It's CGC graded as an 8.0, so obviously that's worth a lot. They are going to put that up so that you can own a piece of it with a valuation set at $1.8 million, which actually does sound like a very reasonable valuation. But you would never be the sole owner. You would be a partial owner. And so, like, at some point, I guess maybe people get, like, voting shares based on how much they buy into it. And at some point, you know, they'll sell it and you'll get your investment back based on that. Now, let me just say, entertaining, not a great idea. I do have a cat leash, actually. Hi, Marvin Nation. You're not that late. I don't know. Just the idea to me, like, they literally made an early Simpsons episode about that. That's how sort of weird an idea it was. There was Milhouse and Bart and one other person. I want to say, who was the other nerdy kid? Like, I can't remember his name because I haven't watched Simpsons in a while. But they all pooled their money to get a copy of Radioactive Man #1, and they ultimately ended up sort of fighting over it and losing it in a rainstorm. Because, yeah, how do you determine ownership across so many people? You know, nobody's going to get to actually hold it and read it. All you're doing is investing in it. And I don't think that comics ever make for a solid investment, certainly not for tons of people. That's just my personal take on it. Yeah, they will increase in value. They will. But not like at the same rate that, say, like a stock does, or even like something like a casual investment, like a CD at the bank, you know, a certificate of deposit. Martin, thank you guys. Yeah, Martin Prince. I reviewed Iron Fist. I haven't talked about Iron Fist in terms of news or anything. Yeah, and they're doing that with a Mickey Mantle rookie card also. I see the value in there. I don't think you'll necessarily lose money doing that, but I don't think you stand to gain a significant amount either. Because, you're not getting even 10% the way they're dividing it up. You're not going to get 10% of that Batman #1. And it's not like in 10 years from now, that's necessarily going to double. I mean, maybe it will, but that's... You can't count on that. You can't. Because how many people out there have that kind of money to just buy it? So anyway, yeah. Multiple owners of the same comic. Literally something Simpsons made a joke about, and this company is just like, yeah, that sounds like a good business model to us. I don't know. I don't... It sounds a little funky to me, but what do I know, right? I'm not... Let me make it clear that I am not a financial advisor. Maybe I'm just wrong on this one, folks. It struck me as amusing. But I welcome other takes on that. Maybe comics have increased in value faster than I thought. Oh, thanks, Clay. Clay picked up some comics that I've recommended in past weeks, like Excellent, ROM, and JLA International. That's awesome. Those are all really great comics. All the drawings of Spider-Man were cut out. What else do we have in news? Oh. You know what? I'm going to hold off on Comixology. That's the big news. Let me hold off on that one. Let me instead just talk about... this more minor news. George R.R. Martin. A lot of us know who he is thanks to HBO's success with Game of Thrones. I was always a fan of those books, so I was excited when that got adapted, and I would say most of it was good. It was they lost the thread a bit towards the end. I don't think that the way the plot went in Game of Thrones was bad in the last 2 to 3 seasons. It just really sped everything up and kind of dumbed it down and turned it into a much more of an action show instead of more of sort of a political thriller over who would hold power, in my opinion, okay? Because, those books were really based on some real stuff that went down. The War of the Roses, if you ever want to read up on that, it's a fascinating piece of history where different houses, essentially, in England all claimed to be the next heir to the throne, and they each brought in the fiefdoms that were loyal to them. And it's a fascinating piece of real-life history, and Game of Thrones is very much based on that. Who fills the power vacuum when there isn't a clear line of succession. But anyway, anybody who knows George R.R. Martin will know that he's written all sorts of stuff, and he's also always been a big comic book fan. If you go back and read those Jack Kirby, Stan Lee issues of Fantastic Four, you will find some George R.R. Martin letters in there that he wrote. So he's been a longtime comic book fan, and he and Marvel have come to an agreement to adapt his anthology series, which is called Wild Cards, into a comic book. And Wild Cards basically takes place in a world where a lot of people get superpowers due to this big event, and some are villains and some are heroes. It's not deep or anything. It's just a different world because it's a lot of superpowered people. Anyway, that's going to turn into a Marvel comic this year. So you'll start hearing George R. R. Martin's name in the news a lot more because he's also got that upcoming Game of Thrones spin-off show set in further in the past time period, following mostly House Targaryen. It might be called Blood and Fire, but anyway. Wild Cards. Yeah, Wild Cards is coming. Remember when Marvel had the GRRM Martin license? Not quite. I don't quite remember that. So anyway, but if you're a fan of George R. R. Martin, I do think he's good at character development. He's good at making like interesting, complex characters. And there are some interesting characters within that world of Wild Cards. I wouldn't call it like revolutionary superhero stuff, but it's well done superhero stuff. So that's something that will be coming later this year, and that's coming through Marvel. So expect that to get a pretty big push, in my opinion. He's just too big a creator for them to not like push it big. Wow, Sean Williams with a super chat, and what's A stand for? Is that like Australia or Armenia, Albania, Azerbaijan? I don't know what A stands for money, but thank you so much for the generous super chat. Regardless, I sincerely appreciate that. Personally, I would sincerely love it if George R.R. Martin finished his A Song of Ice and Fire books, Game of Thrones. I don't have a lot of faith that will happen. I don't. He is taking his sweet time. I'm not saying I'm entitled to it, just saying it's the thing from him that I would like the most. And instead, he is more interested in doing, like, these side projects like Wild Cards and a Game of Thrones spin-off and stuff. And why not? It's probably what will pay him more, I guess. I don't know. I'm just saying I wish I could get more, like his version of Game of Thrones finished, but I don't have a lot of faith that he's ever going to do that. I don't have a lot of faith. Australia. Okay, right the first time. Thanks, mate. Ah, man, I would love to visit Australia. You guys probably aren't accepting tourism yet, right? Atlantis. Ooh, that would be cool. I've never gotten a super chat from Atlantis. But thank you so much. Got that nice shout out from the Australians on the Mr. Sunday movies the other week. That was nice. I also need to stop by something in the area. I would very, very much love to visit New Zealand. That's where my grandfather was born. So my sister and I should probably do that together. Oh, look at this. A Canadian super chat from Meow Nyan. Nyanko. It means kitten in Japanese. All right, with the success of Peacemaker, will we see The Question, Nightshade, and other lesser-known acquired DC characters on the small screen? Any that you hope for? Well, good question. I mean, first of all, we'll probably see more of Judo Master since he survived. Spoiler, it wasn't a big character in the show. But Judo Master, of course, also came from quality comics like Peacemaker. So yeah, I could definitely see them letting James Gunn use The Question. That would be really cool to use. Nightshade? Maybe. Could he get Blue Beetle? Maybe. Blue Beetle's probably the best known. Captain Atom was from the quality comics. I could definitely see those characters showing up on Peacemaker. They're not probably going to, getting Vigilante was like, sort of like one of those B characters that they'll let him have. They would get characters that they would be happy to kill off in a Suicide Squad movie. They'll probably let him have access to. And there's a lot of characters like that. I don't know. I could see them using, like, for instance, the Ted Kord Blue Beetle. But they probably want to make a Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle movie. We'll see. Living Torpedo, so maybe Bulleteer. That's true. Bullet Man? I don't know. There's a lot of different characters they could go with. I thought that Peacemaker was really good. Really, really good. That was a blast. That was better than it had any right to be. And I'll tell you what it made me do. I go, God damn it. Is John Cena a good actor? He may well be, because that guy showed legit range of emotion in that show. You saw him break down in tears more than once. That's not something you usually see in a superhero movie with like a big muscular guy. I know The Rock can do stuff like that. He's had a few roles in stuff like, Be Shorty and stuff, or Be Cool, where he pushed his range. But The Rock, and I'm talking like, because he's like another pro wrestler turned actor, but The Rock generally plays action roles that are very similar. He's sort of playing a version of himself. But damn, John Cena played a character. That's all I can say. And I did not expect that, but he impressed me. He impressed me very much. Batista's also a pretty good actor, but I don't necessarily think he has the same range. But Batista has like a small role in Blade Runner 2049. Quite good. Quite good. And who expected him to be so funny in Guardians of the Galaxy? So, maybe we need to just give credit to James Gunn for getting these performances out of people that we wouldn't necessarily have expected. But Peacemaker was very cool. I liked it a lot. I don't know how many of you watched it, but I thought it was really, really good. A lot of that has to do with James Gunn pushing him. Yeah. What is wrestling but acting in the ring? Sure, wrestlers can be good at improv. Wrestlers can do certain things, but, there's a reason why more than 90% of them do not become Hollywood actors. Not all of them can do the same type of acting. And I just thought that John Cena legit portrayed a character, not just a big, strong superhero. I was very impressed. So I'm excited to see season 2. We'll see where it goes. I like their cast. I've always been a fan of Steve Agee. He played John Economos. I've been watching Channel 101 for just about since it first created. So I've seen Steve Agee in lots and lots of hilarious projects. It was cool to see him in this. Let's move on to some more news. What other news do I have? Yeah. A lot of people agreeing. That's nice. Oh, Manhunter. Yeah. Kate Spencer Manhunter. That would be a cool character to put actually into Peacemaker 2. There's a comic book writer, and you might not all know him, but maybe you do know him and you didn't realize you know him. He passed away. His name was Tom Veitch. And his brother's pretty famous, Rick Veitch. Known for things like Swamp Thing, for instance. I did an episode on his Brat Pack. But his brother Tom was also somebody who worked in comics as a writer. And he passed away at age 80 this past week due to COVID. So people are still passing away from there. That's just like a little reminder to please be careful for your family and friends. But what did he do that you might have seen? Well, he did work on mainstream books like Animal Man and stuff in the past. But I honestly think the thing he's probably best known for would be Star Wars. When Star Wars came back in the 90s, because it had really not been around for a long time, but it came back in the 90s as a book by Timothy Zahn, I want to say. And it came back as a series of comic books from Dark Horse. And the first one was really cool. It was called Dark Empire. And it involved Emperor Palpatine coming back as a clone. Sound familiar? And Luke Skywalker decided to pretend to join him and literally did join the dark side, believing he was strong enough that he could join the dark side, undermine Palpatine, and come back to the light side. But he only was able to actually do it with the help of Leia. Dark Empire was dope. It had some gorgeous artwork by Cam Kennedy. It was really exciting at the time because it wasn't just that Star Wars was back. It felt a lot more authentic, closer to the movies. The Marvel comics had been fun, but a lot of that had been made up on the fly without much Star Wars history to go on, So a lot of it in retrospect feels kind of goofy or more like a TV type of sci-fi than like a big budget movie. Anyway, all that is to say, it's sad that we lost him. If you haven't read it, please trust me. Dark Empire is very cool. I loved that book when it came out. There was also a Dark Empire 2 and I think 3, but Dark Empire 1 was definitely the best. Palpatine had these like huge machines that could like be sent down to a planet, and they would like suck up like, a city and just churn that into like energy and raw materials and stuff. These world devastators, they were really cool. It was a good like, huge threat that wasn't just the Death Star again. And look at what they ended up doing. They ended up bringing him back as a clone. So yeah. Veitch and Kennedy's Light and Darkness War is also really good, says Jeff Yun. Yeah. I actually dislike the Clone Emperor idea both times. For me, it worked better as a comic book. I was like, that was really cool. Gotta go. All right. Thank you for stopping by, Super Pickle. Yeah, it's really cool. What else did we have for news? As long as we're sort of talking about more serious stuff, it's worth noting George Perez is he's entered hospice. Don't know how many of you are familiar with what that is, but hospice is where you go when there's no more like, cure or anything, but everything, it's palliative care. It's designed to just make you as comfortable as possible in your final days. It's really nice. It's really important work, and emotionally draining work for the people that do it, but a beautiful thing that it is available to people that are at that end stage. I definitely hoped Mr. Perez was going to have a little more time to be fully independent. But his family and friends are posting a lot of photos of his days right now in hospice, and I will say, in every single one, he has a humongous smile. So he's being visited constantly by friends and family, and he's being made comfortable. I don't know. Nobody knows how much time he has left, but, just letting you know, that's the stage he's at. He's in hospice, and hopefully he gets to be there for a while and gets to meet all the people that love and care about him so much. But here's a nice piece of news related to him. Marvel and DC have agreed to reprint his beautiful book, JLA Avengers. Now, this is a very big deal to put something like this together this fast between two such giant companies. The Hero Initiative is also involved in sort of brokering this deal, and it is only being limited to 7,000 copies. But you got to understand that it isn't. The goal here is not to get the book in the hands of all of us that love it. Maybe someday that will happen. This is designed to get it out, to let George Perez know how much people love him and how much they appreciate his work. And that is why it's being done by these two companies. And, hopefully you can get a copy. Hopefully I can get a copy. But if you don't, just know that it's really being created for him to show how much people love him. And that's kind of a beautiful thing. Scalper's going to snatch them up. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It works the same way that any comic does, folks. Comic book stores get to put in their orders through the distributors. It's obviously going to, not everybody is going to get a copy, but they're going to the comic book stores. So if you trust your comic book store, they are going to do their best to get you a copy. And I'm very confident that my comic book store will get me a copy. I put in my order the day that they announced that. I said, hey, I'm sure you're probably already ordering it, but just in case, I just want you to know, please put me down. I would like to get that. And I used to have the original issues, but I did sell them all years ago, and I regret it, but what's done is done. I sold a lot of my comics, not just that. I sold most of my comics at one point. I was moving across the country, and I just couldn't keep them all. So I don't think I did the wrong thing, but there are a couple that I wish I'd like given a second thought and held on to, and that was definitely one of them. I instantly regretted like a couple sales that I did. I wish I kept a hold of like my Hellboy stuff. I don't know, a few other things. So if you're interested and you haven't yet, talk to your local comic store and say, hey, I am very interested in this. Please put me on the list, and maybe you'll get one. And honestly, folks, if you don't, I think that there's an excellent chance that this will show the amount of interest in it, and I do have a good amount of confidence that it will be reprinted again. You know? So if you don't get it, just don't give up hope. They may make more. I really do believe that. Yeah. It is great that they're reprinting it. I think that's really cool. 7,000 was to rush out the order while George was still with us. Exactly. Agreeing to terms to put out 100,000 copies can take a lot of time between two big businesses, folks. It just does. It's not easy to agree to those things. They were able to agree to a limited print run because neither of them are going to profit so much that they have to work out complex terms. Okay? It's just how it is. And it's either this or nothing. And I'd rather have this. And it's still a trade, so it's not as valuable as the original issues. And if it's something you've really wanted, well, it's been out for 20 years, so I wouldn't get too mad at the people reprinting it. They're trying to put something out right now, just to show him that we love him. Yeah, he's so great. It's just so nice to see all these photos of him. It's hard to see him in a hospital bed, but he always has the biggest smile, and he's getting to see all of his family and loved ones. That's nice. That's a beautiful thing. We should be appreciative. Not everybody gets to have that time to sort of, spend time with the loved ones at the end, right? That's not something we all get. So I'm trying to look at the bright side. I'm trying. It's not easy. It's not. I'm very happy with how these poses came out. Let's clean this up. Maybe I'll even throw in some color. Because, yeah, how long has this been going? It hasn't been going that long. We got plenty of time. It doesn't always take that long to draw when you have a solid pose to begin with. That's kind of cool. I miss Invincible. What would you guys say is the equivalent of an Invincible type superhero story these days? I feel like the closest is going to be stuff like, something like Nightwing or Ms. Marvel. But maybe there's something from a more independent publisher that I'm missing out on. What is the safest way to secure a copy of JLA Avengers? I guess looking in your local comic shop's back issues, or going on eBay and getting a copy of the original run. Otherwise, if you want to try to get this new trade paperback reprint, it would just be talking to your local comic shop as quickly as possible and seeing what you can do. Because they're not all going to get as many copies as they want, so you just got to get in ahead of other people. That's all I can say. But 7th, maybe Radiant Black. Okay. Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball, that's a big blank spot on my... Ultra Mega. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, Ultra Mega was really good. I did like that. I did like it a lot. Yeah, I could sort of see that. Because Invincible, you're right, does get pretty violent sometimes. It does get a bit graphic. That's sort of what makes it different, I guess, from Spider-Man or something. Sideways, huh? Don't know Sideways. All right. Radiant Black at Image is probably the biggest indie superhero today. You know, and I feel bad. Like, I've heard so many good things about Radiant Black. And the reason I didn't pick that one up was it was originally solicited as, like, you know, sort of like a type of American version of the Power Rangers idea, maybe a little more grounded. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool, but I'll be honest, I'm a little older that, like, I'm aware of course, Power Rangers, but I didn't, like, grow up with Power Rangers. Power Rangers doesn't really hold much, what do you call it, like, of any sort of emotional connection to me. So, like, that initial solicit for Radiant Black wasn't quite enough to grab me, but a lot of people have recommended it, so maybe I should pick it up. You know, I haven't read Human Target by Tom King and Greg Smallwood, but I have flipped through it, and my God, that is some of Greg Smallwood's most gorgeous artwork. I think my plan at this point is I'm going to pick that up in trade paperback form. That's my current plan, because it does look like something special, and it looks like it's going to tell some sort of a complete story, so that's also pretty darn cool. Should he be saying here, like, hey, son, how about some Subway? It's funny if you've seen the show. Looking forward to next season of the show. I think Corey would look at my artwork and laugh, but it's as good as I can do. Let's see if there's any other news that I'm missing. I guess that's all the news that I really had this week. Oh, no, it isn't. Comixology. The big news. I was holding off on it. So, if you're not aware, Comixology has been around for a long time now, and initially started as like a digital app where you could like create pull lists so that you remember what you want to pick up and what's coming and stuff. Quickly became a comic book reader where you could buy comics digitally. And the nice thing about Comixology was really that it allowed every publisher to sell their comics on their platform. So, you know, Marvel and DC both have really good apps for buying their comics and stuff. But there's also like Image and Dark Horse and IDW and Oni and all these other places that you might want to get comics from. Comixology allowed you to do that. Back in 2014, it was bought by Amazon. And, you know, the day that people have sort of like more or less dreaded sort of came this last week. Amazon finally pushed through an update that now makes you read the comics through instead their Kindle app, not the Comixology app. They've really brought it completely in-house as much as they can. And with the app update, now you still have access to the comics that you bought, but you have to re-download them all. So if you've been using this since, like, you know, 2010 or something like that, have over 10 years of comics, my God, that's a lot of comics to re-download. You have access to it, but kind of frustrating, huh? Have you watched The Boys, and are you excited for Season 3 or the animated spin-off? Yes to all of that, Ivan. Yeah, Comics Amazon. Here's the good side of this. I think that, like, I think the app, a lot of readers have said that, like, they've also borked the resolution a little bit, and made it a little clunkier. So there's not too many fans of the update. Not too many fans of it at all. And here's the thing, I guess they've just made it much more difficult for people outside of the United States to easily buy comics in a timely manner. They've made it much harder. Frustrating. The people that created Comixology clearly had a passion for comics, and I don't know how many of them are still there. Maybe they still do. But Amazon really just saw it as, like, you know, there was a point where Comixology was like the most profitable app for several months, because people are buying comics through it. There have been some controversies and stuff. You know what? Maybe I'll just make an episode about it. But anyway, it's frustrating. They kind of borked their app this past week, and people are not happy. They're not happy. I've got some other stuff that I can talk about for myself, though. Let me just see the color scheme of Omni-Man here. I've been using Kindle for a while to read raw manga, and it was pretty useful for that. It works. It works. It's anyway, you know what? Temporarily, I won't be surprised if it pushes people back to using traditional media. It might, for a while, be literally easier to use your comic book store or online ordering systems to get physical copies of the book. But some of us get burnt out on having a lot of stuff. And I would get a lot of digital comics because I have to edit them into episodes, right? That takes a hell of a lot of my time to scan it if there's not a digital version available. A hell of a lot of time. The production of comic tropes, most of it is how long it takes me to edit, because I have to gather images and it takes a long time to scan stuff and things like that. It's my least favorite part. I like the editing part. I hate the gathering images part. It's very, very time consuming no matter what. No matter how much I'm covering it. It's very time consuming to gather images. Anyway. Hold on. Michael Aidson sent a super chat. Thank you. How many comics do you buy digital versus physical? It might work out to something like 50-50. But I tend to buy the digital stuff later a lot of the times. When it's new, I kind of buy physical these days. And then when it comes time to editing stuff, I'll usually buy a digital copy. Anyway, I hope people don't pirate too much, because that just hurts the creators and the industry and makes it more likely that there will be less comics out there. Comics won't go away, but if there's too much pirating, then it takes away the profit and the incentives, and certain publishers will just absolutely go out of business, and a lot of creators won't get paid. A lot of creators already work on pretty thin margins, so I hope it doesn't lead to pirating. I really do. Meow Nyan with another Canadian super chat. Thank you. If you ever have time or can trace them down, check out Oi Hano, known in English as Blue Blazes, a great Japanese drama about 80s mangaka and the founding of Gainax. Highly recommended. Is it a book or a comic or a movie? What is it? It sounds fantastic. I love reading about stories about comic book creators. So color me interested, but tell me what kind of media that is. I mean, I can Google the name now that you told me. So actually, I guess I can figure it out. I'm just doing something right now, but I'll figure it out. Actually. Thank you. Appreciate the recommend. Having unlimited was nice because it made it easy to jump into new series without a large upfront investment. Yeah, I sincerely think that the Marvel Unlimited app is pretty darn good, and it's a good value for giving you a lot of back issues at a really good price. It's just that's only Marvel, and people want variety, right? I think they do. So I've got a story time to tell. I've got a story. This week, I was offered an ad. And I won't say who it's for. I don't want to, throw anyone under the bus, okay? But I was offered a pet. Oh, hold on. Steve with a super generous super chat. There's a reason it's called super. It's super generous. It's super for me. To piggyback, Blue Blazes is great. I wish it was in U.S. legal. Excuse me. I wish it was in U.S. legally. Very realistic on how creatives work. There is a drama series, Tough Find. Okay. Well, I don't mind a search. That makes it more rewarding when you find it. And you're welcome for that disgusting belch. That snuck up on me. I was not trying to be rude or gross. What was I going to say? Okay, so I was offered an ad, right? And again, I'm not going to say who it's for because I have no interest in throwing anyone under the bus. It was a very generous amount. And it was for something that was, in my opinion, related to something my viewers would potentially be interested in. So it made sense. It wasn't for like, skincare or something like that. I was like, okay, I mean, sometimes, but anyway. So I agree to their terms. I get the creative brief telling me what they want me to talk about. And they don't want me to just do an ad. They want me to do an entire episode. Oh. And I'm looking at it, and it specifically spells out certain language that I'm supposed to use, which is all positive. My goal being to push them towards this product or service. And I was like, oh, well, I don't think I can do that. I mean, an ad is one thing. But to do a whole episode where I'm sort of recommending something that I haven't even seen yet, I just don't think I can do that. It's not about the money. So I said, look, I totally misunderstood what you were looking for. I thought you were looking for an ad, but you're talking about a whole episode. I can't do that. I don't feel like that would be honest to sort of use my platform and the trust that I've established, if any, with my viewers. I'm sorry. And they came back and they doubled it. Whoa. That made it harder. But before I even had time to respond to that, they doubled that again. Now, folks, at this point, we were talking about a pretty crazy amount of money, honestly. I was like, oh my God, like this isn't life-changing. It's not like winning the lottery, but it would definitely change this calendar year for me. Like, I would not want for anything. I could finally fix my central air. I could pay off the medical debt that I've got, and I'd have money in the bank. Wow, this would be a lot. But if I did it, I know some people would understand what I was doing. Like, okay, you're just, doing a paid sort of infomercial. But I thought a lot of people would probably see it more as like, that they couldn't trust my opinions anymore. And so, of course, I still turned it down. And it was hard, folks. I'll just say that. It did become hard. And I just had to think for a minute. I was like, well, if they offered me $1 million, would I do it? And I sort of thought, and I was like, no, I like doing my show. And to have credibility, I have to make it clear that it's still always my opinions. I have to. And it's different if you do an ad versus doing a whole episode talking something up. So it was tough. I had to turn down money that like would have just been game-changing for me. It was... no, I'm not even going to give you a hint what it was promoting, because then maybe it wasn't anything suspicious. It sincerely wasn't. I'll just put it that way. It was not anything weird. It was not. It was somebody that just had big pockets. It was somebody that had big pockets, and I was like, in one sense, I was like, wow, I appreciate the value you're putting on my show. And in another, I started thinking to myself, well, wait a minute, like, maybe they sort of lowballed me at first, now that they're willing to, like, quadruple their initial offer, But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I turned it down. And that's that. Just letting you know, I'll tell you, running a YouTube channel, it's fun work, but boy, is it still work, and I hate having to make decisions like that. It was miserable. It was miserable to turn that down. But I thought that it was the only thing. It was like, I didn't feel like I really had a choice, realistically. I think that too many people would just punch out of my show if I did that. And what kind of a slope would that form? All of a sudden, now what could I say no to at that point? They wouldn't let you try the product first. I asked would I be allowed to be critical? And they were like, well, that's not really what we're looking for. That we're looking for you to talk it up and recommend this to your audience. And I was like, yeah, but I haven't even seen it yet. And even if I did like it, and honestly, I'm pretty sure I would. I'm pretty sure I actually would. That's also part of what made it tough, is I think I probably would like it, but I'm never going to like something 100%, right? So if I can't be honest, nah, it was a no. It was just a lot of money to say no to. I've never had to make a call like that before. With that kind of money, so that's part of the job here that gets tough, making decisions like that. Other things that are tough are like, every single day I have people asking to send me their comic for me to like review on the show and stuff, and I sincerely just couldn't do that. Like, there wouldn't be enough time in the day, and I just can't. But it doesn't feel good to tell people no, It doesn't feel good to just, because some of it might be really good. Some of it's probably bad too, but it's tough. It's tough to have to like sort of be like that. Anyway, it is what it is. Just thought I'd tell you a little bit of a story without getting into specifics. It wasn't to like do a humble brag. It was more just to talk about how tough sometimes doing the YouTube thing is. You've got opportunities, but the opportunities are like, they come with their own risks. I have no clue what would be worth having a comic channel make a whole episode for something. Did Chrissy have a say in turning it down? I did, just to be clear, like, run it by Chrissy and say, like, hey, this is what I think I'm going to turn it down, but, I just want you to know. And she was like, she supported me 100%. That was cool. She was like, no, your integrity is more important than any amount they'll offer you. Okay, cool. Thank you. Meow Nyan with a super chat. So generous. Oh, another industry-related show or podcast, Deep Cuts Podcast, did an episode on Hong Kong comics. Shady industry, but very fascinating. Yeah, when I went to Hong Kong, I also made an episode about Hong Kong comics. I agree that they are kind of shady. Tony Wong is like long been sort of the king there, but he did go to prison for a while, so it's 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 something. It's something. They are unique. James Stewart asks, I appreciate you having integrity. Holding true to your values is a key to higher self-esteem. Oh, well, that's a nice way of looking at it. Yeah. Thanks for the kind words. That's nice. That's nice of you. Not easy, though, when you've got like this huge paycheck in front of you and you're like, wow, for like a week's worth of work, I can basically be set for the rest of the year. That doesn't sound bad. But anyway, it is what it is. That's the story. I missed your super chat, Joe? Folks, I'm going to scroll up through the chat log. I know you've all seen this, but I got to see what Joe said. Oh, Joe here. Have you seen Boiled Angels, the Mike Diana story? No, I haven't. I was familiar with the news when that was coming out. Mike Diana made like a comic that like definitely did not go over well with parental groups and stuff like that. A lot of people not happy with that book, and I know he gotten like a lot of people mad at him. But that was an interesting sort of free speech type case. Maybe not even free speech so much as like what comic stores are allowed to sell. But I'll look into that, Joe. And I'm sorry I missed your super chat at first. I'm sorry. I'm not hating on him. I love Joe. Joe is almost always here, has nice things to say, contributes to the conversation. I appreciate the super chat. I'm really sorry that I missed it. That is never my intent. Ideally, I don't miss any post at all, but it's also not realistic because I'm always talking and drawing, and I can't always look up and see what people have to say. Sorry. I would gladly send you the comic I'm working on, but I'm not going to set my expectation that high that you'll do a video on it. Yeah. I just don't have the time to do stuff like that, unfortunately. It would be nice if I could do that for people, but I just don't have the time. Whoa. The Shaolin Soccer book was really weird. That's a funny movie. I love Shaolin Soccer. I'm sure the special effects don't hold up perfectly, but boy, was that funny. If you haven't seen it, Shaolin Soccer was a really funny movie. That was a really nice time when that came out in my life, in that, like, I was working in Boston, and I was working in this downtown area where it was not a very long walk at all to Boston's Chinatown, and I found a great store that always had import movies from Hong Kong and Japan. So I was discovering Shaolin Soccer, I was discovering The Ring, Jackie Chan movies and stuff. Oh, it's just a great, great time in my life, like, to be able to discover all that stuff, like, before other people. And it was probably bootleg, I guess, but it was still damn cool to be discovering it all. I remember hearing about Mike Diana's case in a Wizard magazine. Yeah, it was big news at the time. It was definitely big news. But will you judge anyone who reviews the product now? Not anybody who reviews it, but if I can tell that they obviously took the deal that I was offered, I would just be like, oh, interesting that they were okay with it. But I would never call them out, so no one will ever know. I would never call anybody out on that, because it's an individual decision. And it's not an easy decision. Boiled Angels is an amazing documentary. It's on Amazon. Oh, okay, perfect. That's an easy place for me to find it. I highly recommend it. Jello Biafra narrates a beautifully shot, unbelievable comic story. Great punk OST. Joe, thank you. I will look for that very soon, since I do have Amazon. That's awesome. That's awesome. Maybe that's worth an episode, but then again, there's already been a documentary, so maybe nobody would really want that, now that I think of it. I don't know. I don't want to repeat stuff that's already been told unless I've got a new angle on it, you know? Not intentionally, anyway. License to Ill or Paul's Boutique? License to Ill. License to Ill. Love the Beasties. Miss them. I'm looking at my phone every once in a while because I just have a photo of Omni-Man and Invincible, and I'm just understanding, like, where the color scheme is and stuff like that. So, yeah. I don't have that memorized in my head. I don't draw this. You know who does some, are you into vinyl? I don't have a record player. I could be into it. I would love to be more into music, but right now I don't have a record player. I could see myself getting into vinyl in a big way if I did. There's a few record shops around me. So that could be a lot of fun to, like, rediscover music from my youth, as well as discover things that I just haven't listened to yet and listen to it on vinyl. I do appreciate getting to put on a whole album as compared to just, like, singles and, like, have a mix or something. I do appreciate it. Sort of forces you to slow down and pay more attention if you listen to a whole album and try to, like, understand what an artist was going for. It tells a story just like a book or a movie or a comic, so I kind of like that. I do respect listening to a whole album in the order that the artist intended and everything. Don't get to do that every day. Chris, I watched the Slugfest documentary you recommended. Yeah, it was kind of fun. It was fun to see the creators played by actors, but they did some curious skipping around on the history of Marvel and DC. Yeah, they did. It was not... I don't know. It was fun to see. The most fun part was just seeing actors play actual historical figures. It was cool seeing who was it? Ray Wise playing Jack Kirby, I believe. Lance Henriksen as Stan Lee, if I'm remembering right. That stuff was fun. That was the most fun part. Just seeing actors play these roles and like imagining that as a movie or something. The little reenactments were the best part. Slugfest is like a sort of like these digestible, like 10-minute mini documentaries about Marvel versus DC type stuff. And it's on one of those like free Roku channels, and I can't remember which one right now. Maybe it's Roku itself? I don't know. Look it up, and I'm sure you can find it by a quick Google search. Faust is on YouTube. I watched it late one night. Free online on Roku. Okay, Slugfest is on Roku. Will you watch the Foo Fighters movie? Probably. That thing looks hilarious. Yeah, where they like go up against a demon of some sort. Good question, Jeannie. How about you? Plus, Dave Grohl is awesome. It looks funny. Speaking of sort of like music-related movies, they're making a Weird Al biography, and Daniel Radcliffe is playing him. And a lot of people, like, they saw this like set photo of him, and people were like, "He doesn't look like Weird Al." And I'm like, folks, just to be clear, I'm pretty sure that's the joke. You know, I'm pretty sure they did not cast Daniel Radcliffe because they were like, "Oh, he looks just like Weird Al." I'm pretty sure they cast him because, you know, he's just like a big name Hollywood actor, and that's sort of a joke. I'm pretty sure, but anyway. Fred Van Lente did a Life of Jack Kirby as a stage play, and during the pandemic turned it into a podcast. That's really cool. What a cool project. That's nice. It's nice hearing people talk about music. That's not something we always talk about in these chats, but music is awesome, and music is such an important part of our lives. And who doesn't like music at all? You know, like, music is such a thing that like binds us. And like, wait, did I color these right? Nope, these aren't blue, these are yellow. Ah, folks, I messed up. I didn't color him right. Invincible has yellow gauntlets. I fucked up. If I scanned this in Photoshop, I could clean that up. But as soon as I was doing it, you know, I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't quite look right. It's not. That sucks. That sucks. Weird Al has been, once they get him behind the curls and glasses, maybe he will. Well, they took a photo of him wearing, like, you know, like the big mustache and the wig and everything, and he doesn't look exactly like Weird Al, but I don't think that's the point. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be kind of funny. Yeah, no, Weird Al hasn't had any drama. He seems like one of the sweetest guys in the world. Who has ever said anything bad about Weird Al? Nobody. He was so funny on Comedy Bang Bang. He was the co-host with Scott Aukerman for the final season. That's a really funny show if you've never watched it, Comedy Bang Bang. Damn funny. Oh, another really funny show that's out right now is on Netflix, if you have Netflix. Murderville. Will Arnett plays a homicide detective, and every episode gives him a new partner, always played by some celebrity. But here's the trick. While there's a real mystery going on, the celebrity guest who's playing like a homicide trainee doesn't get access to a script, so they have to improvise their way through the whole show, and then at the end of the episode, they have to make the call as to who the murderer was. It's hilarious. Ken Jeong was just outstanding in it. Made me laugh so hard. Kumail Nanjiani has a scene where he just does a cool walk that is absolutely ridiculous. Conan O'Brien kills it. Such a good show, folks. Murderville. Apparently based on a British show that did the same thing. But I haven't seen that. And sure as hell want to now, but yeah. I am looking for a different Copic marker right now. That's what I'm sort of looking around for. You see me like looking all over the place. That's what I'm doing. There it is. There it is. Let me just make sure that this is working okay before... Okay. I'm going to be bold and use the darkest gray that I have, which will probably, like, you know, obscure the line work for the musculature, but what's important is that it's under there, not that you see every line, right? That's what's important, is that it's under there. You don't have to see it. You want to sort of show off the line work when you get it right, but that's not what makes the best finished product. The Fred Van Lente podcast is called King Kirby. Ah. Last Comic Standing is based on Japanese comedy battle shows. Oh, okay. Will Arnett is hilarious. His episode on Conan's podcast is amazing. I'll listen to that. I haven't listened to that. I haven't listened to Conan's podcast much, but I've been meaning to because I've always loved Conan. My sister and I have each been to his show. When he had that in New York. That was cool. I've been to a couple, and I know she went to at least one. Boy, that was fun. Always been a fan of Conan forever. Grew up knowing about, like, you know, his episodes of Saturday Night Live and The Simpsons. The monorail episode was an early favorite of mine. I still adore the monorail, and so, like, when he became a talk show host, I had to check it out. And then I was in college, and it just became a part of my evening every night. It didn't hurt that I was in the Central Time Zone in New Orleans, so his show was coming on when, for most people, you know, the Tonight Show was coming on. So it wasn't too late. I got in essentially an hour earlier because in the Central Time Zone, they just aired things on East Coast time. So you just got it an hour earlier in the day, which meant it was easier to watch Conan every night. That was awesome. Loved his show. So I should listen to his podcast. Yeah, that's not bad. Conan was hilarious on Will Arnett's Murderville show on Netflix. That's what I was saying. Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. Conan's always been hilarious, in my opinion. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Where am I? Let's see. We are coming up on 2 hours. Not quite there yet, so I got time to do a little bit more. A little bit more. Not a lot. A little bit. Not a lot. What's the deal with doing a little bit more? Why not do a little less? The monorail episode from The Simpsons had Leonard Nimoy, since George Takei had to cancel to be in that episode. Oh, I never knew that. But Leonard Nimoy's hilarious in that one. The cosmic ballet goes on. Anybody want to change seats with this guy? Monorail. I hear those things are awfully loud. It glides as softly as a cloud. Is there a chance the track could bend? Not in my life, my Hindu friend. Were you sent here by the devil? No, good sir, I'm on the level. Conan has a love for musicals like The Music Man, Oliver. Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so clear. No, so strong. It's clear. We're going to get along. Sorry, I'm just trying. What brought me to New Orleans? College. I went to Tulane University, so I lived down there for 4 years. Loved it. Loved that city. So much good food. So much good food. That's my impression of Super Mario, not in Italian. Specifically, it's me doing Super Mario, so it's not offensive. It's-a me, Mario. Oh! That voice. Oh, that voice. It's a me, Mario. We've taken to you so strong, it's clear we're going to get along. Oh, now it's in my head. Whose superpowers do I wish I had, says Steve. Well, I think about this every day for about an hour every day. No, I think that if I lived in a world without other superpowers, certain superpowers wouldn't be as useful as others. But I think Mystique's ability to shapeshift would be interesting. See what it's like to live as a celebrity or just torpedo somebody's career you didn't like. Work as a spy. The perfect spy. I think Flash's super speed would be super useful. Or just the ability to fly so that I could go to other countries. You know, without having to spend a fortune, I could just fly there. But you know what would be really, really useful? Doug Ramsey, Cypher from the X-Men, or the New Mutants, really. He can, understand and learn any language instantly. Folks, how amazing would that be? If you could just instantly know any other language, you could visit South Korea, you could visit Russia, I could visit Brazil. Doesn't matter, I could instantly just speak the language. Oh my god, that would be so useful. That would be incredible. That I think trumps everything else. I think that's what I'd want the most. The ability to speak any language instantly or learn it instantly. Could probably do a lot of good there too. Like broker peace talks or something. It'd be worth it. It'd be incredible. Too bad Invincible isn't still being published. I bet I could get this thing published. I bet I could send this in as fan art and have it published in the letters column. Too late. Too late. Not going to happen now. No Invincible comic. You can learn math with that ability. Exactly. You could be like some sort of amazing scientist helping NASA figure out how to come up with, propulsion that's as fast as light or something. I don't know. Be amazing. Math would be a language. Music would be a language. Body language, maybe. Martial arts. I don't know. Just feels like you could learn a lot and do a lot of good. Flight. They did have Chief Wiggum and Principal Skinner moved to New Orleans in that spin-off episode. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I sort of remember that. That was funny. Doug Ramsey had super language and he couldn't speak to He could speak to computers. It wasn't that he could speak to computers. He could learn any programming language. He could learn any programming language, yeah. Has anyone done a New Mutants take where they are pissed that the X-Men won't retire? No. Steve says, for myself, telekinesis or super speed. Would anyone believe a 350-pound guy would have super speed? Hell, maybe time control too. My 2 cents. I think if you had super speed, you'd probably be able to work off any excess pounds that you wanted to. You'd probably have to eat like a maniac to keep up with your metabolism. So that would be kind of nice, wouldn't it? Just be able to eat almost whatever you want. That would be fun. Doug Ramsey got resurrected years ago. Yes, he did. So that's frustrating that I colored these blue. There's like a small part of me that wants to try to use whiteout and then recolor it, but honestly it just wouldn't look quite right because drawing one of these on top of the white would be hard, and using this fine enough to cover the blue, I can't. So I would have to correct that in Photoshop. Ugh, how did I do that? Dumb. Well, now you folks know. You probably thought that I never made a mistake, right? Well, guess what? Every once in a very great while, every once in I won't do this again for another 10 years. I made my mistake for the decade. I made my one mistake. I did finish Peacemaker. We talked about that a little earlier, Alex. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but there's the finale is great. He's alive? I'm just imagining Tim said that like the guy from Flash Gordon. Who is that? The guy with the wings. He's alive? Tell you what. I drew my picture. We talked about the news. We talked about the reviews. Let's open up from 1989 a Batman pack of cards here. And I'm not going to have that gum because I learned my lesson last episode. Alright, so we get one that's obviously part of like a poster. With Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Never going to be able to put that together. We've got the Joker takes a hostage with that comically large gun. What an iconic movie. We've got Rooftop Rendezvous. There's Batman dropping in the background. That felt like something out of an early, like, Bob Kane comic. I will say that. Burton got that right. The Joker, Over the Edge. That movie was lucky to get Jack Nicholson. I'll say that much. That's for darn sure. The Axis Chemical Factory definitely looks like something out of a comic book, not like something you'd see in real life. Volton. Brian Blessed is the actor, but I can't remember the character. Brian Blessed was the actor. Volton is the character, and he goes, "He is alive?" Toxic Flood. Yep, gotta watch out for that Toxic Flood. Sorry, Joker. We've got Twisted Terrorists. Accurate. We have Fate of the Wayne Family. Was this the first time on screen we got to see the Wayne family murdered? Probably. They didn't kill him off on the 60s TV show, and I don't think they killed off Wayne's parents on camera in the old serials from the 30s and 40s, the 40s. Steve Sorensen says, mistakes happen. Think of this coloration as like Hirohiko Araki using weird colors on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That's something I'd recommend. I do have to catch up on that at some point. We've got two more cards here. We've got The Challenge. Yeah, that looks like a real challenge for Batman. A guy. Just going to kick him in the face. And we've got Evil of the Joker. Jesus. Jack Nicholson was really perfect casting for that. He really was. That's fantastic. There was something in here that made me think of something, but now I forget. Yeah, that was it. Okay, so we've got Fate of the Wayne Family. So we have them killed on camera here. We see some flashbacks in some of the other movies in that series. We saw Bruce Wayne's parents killed on camera in Batman Begins. We saw him killed again in Batman vs. Superman. So what do you think? The Batman, next March. We're going to see something more extreme? We're going to see the Waynes shot in the face this time? Is that how the movie's going to start? Just his parents just shot right in the face? I don't know how they're going to top anything that they've done before. Let's see if 2 years later, if the Batman Returns cards made any improvement overall. Like if the... Oh, but you know what? I think they did actually. This is much more slick. We've got some sort of a silver foil thing here, and a ton of penguins with rockets on their back. That's what comic book fans wanted, so got that. A dream come true. We've got Fury of the Penguin. I didn't love Monster Penguin, but I didn't hate it because Danny DeVito did create a character at least. We've got Only 8 Lives Left, and that's Catwoman climbing up some sort of steel pillar in a fire. All right. We've got Icy Lair, because the Penguin lived in the sewer. Well known for its ice. We've got The Dark Knight of Gotham City. It's a cool look. We've got the Batmobile. It was an iconic Batmobile. That's not a great shot of it, but that was a cool looking Batmobile. Although I don't know how he fit in it. We've got the Fire Breather of Flame. Yeah, there's one of the first times Batman just flat out kills someone in those movies. That's pretty accurate. A Ghoulish Gift. Right, that circus of crime ruined Christmas in Batman Returns. That's right. When Titans Collide? I don't know if I'd think of either Batman or Penguin as Titans. But okay, Titans. And A Long Way Down. Oh, yeah, that's right, because he killed that pretty girl. Yeah. He lived in a zoo penguin exhibit. Oh, did he? Yeah, that's right. He just got flushed down into the sewers, but then he got that really nice old icy penguin layer from the old zoo. Well, that was fun. I'm going to take off, I think. I think we've done as much as we can this episode, so we'll call it there. My pick of the week, surprising me, but my pick of the week, again, was G.I. Joe Saturday Morning Adventures. I thought this was entertaining, kind of hilarious, and sort of beautiful. Like, I mean, he got, like, the cleft in Duke's chin, the sort of cell-shaded artwork. Not cell-shaded, but, like, looks like, I don't know. It just looks cool. I recommend that. That was my pick of the week. We drew Invincible versus Omni-Man, and we got a super chat here from Marvin Nation from Mexico. Who would have known the Penguin survived and moved to Philadelphia to take care of his adult kids, right? I wouldn't have predicted it, but apparently that's what happened. That's what happened. Yeah, 2 different people telling me that it was Pee Wee Herman that played his father. I'm aware. I think everybody knows that. Thank you all for contributing. Not just super chats, but contributing to the discussion. We talked about the news of the week. We talked about like some good comic book recommendations. Obviously, I've got some documentaries to search out so that I can learn about like the lives of mangaka. I can learn about the Mike Diana story. A lot of people gave some good recommendations in the chat, so I really appreciate that. Hopefully, if you're at home watching this after it's live, like once it's archived, this is good stuff to just veg out to, but like there's some good recommendations in the chat that scroll by. So look up every once in a while. I should probably say that at the beginning of the next episode. But yeah, bonsoir. Appreciate it. I think that's everything. Thank you all. Some of you coming from around the world at really different time zones. Appreciate it. Hopefully you had fun. Chris Sears, have a good evening. Jim Mahfood saying, take care, you guys. So he was here the whole time. Thanks for the stream, Chris. Keep being awesome. Will you... On va parler de bande dessinée. All I know there is bande dessinée. And I don't know how my pronunciation was. But look at all those polite goodbyes. Wonderful. We are going to end it there. I'll be back with a new episode for sure this Sunday. It will probably be a shorter than usual episode. It won't be one of my 25-minute episodes or anything, just because I've got jury duty starting tomorrow, and I'm not sure how much of the week that's going to take up yet. Thank you, Jeannie. I always appreciate your support there. Thank you all for saying such nice things. I think we're curating a really intelligent and kind group of people here that love comic books, and thank you for spreading the word about the show. It's really fun the more people that are here to give opinions. We'll be back next week to talk about the news of the week, the comics that came out, and maybe we'll talk about like some conventions and stuff. I strongly think that next week I might draw Nezuko from Demon Slayer, because I'd like to be able to draw Pretty Women better. We'll see if I can do that. Thank you all. I'm taking off. Have a good week. Keep reading comics. End stream. Shut down. I don't know what that was.